Burning news stories here. Did you know? Senator James A.G. Smith, former Minister of Labor and Public Service in the 1980s, remains the only Jamaican politician imprisoned for mismanaging public funds. He was charged on February 13, 1990 and was later sentenced to 5 years in prison for diverting money from farm workers for personal gain. Ask yourself this question. Why has no other politician gone to jail since, despite the countless corruption scandals we have participated in? In this video I will be explaining what goes on in the minds of corrupt politicians and why we always get away scot-free. Engaging in illicit activities definitely increases my stress levels. I have had a couple of sleepless nights for sure, but I still keep getting involved, especially when I realize there is no other alternative. If only they realized that corruption is more prevalent in environments that encourage it, and less common in situations where there is stricter control. The biggest factor of tension among us was not the illicit act, but losing out on big profit opportunities. It is not, therefore, something done by psychopaths or people with psychiatric disorders. And it becomes more common for us when it is the most profitable way of reaching a goal. We are rarely corrupted by ourselves. We often act in groups, which not only collaborate, but make the illegal action seem righteous and acceptable. Power does not corrupt, it merely enhances our moral characteristics. You see, people who always worry about behaving in an ethical way tend to think about the good of society when they become more powerful, whereas people like myself, who are not ethical in our daily lives, behave in the same way when we receive any form of power. In scenarios where I have to be corrupt to achieve my goals, if it becomes a scandal, those who are involved tend to get thrown under the bus quickly. That's what scapegoats are for. Poor fools. As far as money laundering is concerned, delay in discovering unquestionable evidence ends up stimulating the practice of misappropriating assets. On top of the burden of proving I committed the crime, the state has the burden of establishing beyond the slightest doubt that the criminal acts were committed. I've heard it all. Due legal process and the certainty of the criminal act are necessary for justice to be served, but guess what? The state's institutions created to realize this task are not strong enough, nor are they free enough from our business and bureaucratic friends' influences. So whenever I am accused of the crime of money laundering, I already pay attention to all these factors and realize that, in many cases, the best strategy is to commit the crime because there is a 99% chance I will walk free. Scenarios in which we and our campaign donors unite to maximize our profits after the elections are rampant. There are situations in which what dictates the future construction work is not the general or common good, but the private interest. There are many stories of projects suggested beforehand to the administrators by construction companies as a payback for campaign donations. Another nefarious practice we tend to use is the creation of made-up emergency situations, in order to avoid the bidding process. We all know corruption can be controlled and reduced. The public administration's internal control organisms must be strengthened, and that will create mechanisms to accompany the performance of the contracts. It is necessary to encourage good public administration practices, thereby reducing the room for acts of corruption and inefficiency. That all sounds good on paper, but come on, we all know that's not going to happen anytime soon.